I started again, but we couldn't get the attention that I really felt it deserved. And now I finally released it on May the 5th, 2023. And I've got to say, it's only been a month, but I'm astounded of the reviews by some really talented and intelligent writers. I don't like to call them music journalists. They're not they're writers, they're authors, and who really love the songs and love the music, but really understood why I spent 5 to 7 years on the album. I'd never spend that long on a project on purpose. And the love for it is amazing. And in lots of different ways. I get people saying they love this one song or they love another. They're all catchy. They're easy to sing along to, but they're also very, I don't know, they contain a lot of information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier. And I'm excited about where it's going. I don't know where it's going, but I'm really excited. Yeah.
It's a very good album. As I say, I listened to the album a couple of times and it resonates with me. And it's like 10 or 12 mini stories written from 12 different people, if you will, as if you have a book, a chapter, that's the story of my life. Mm-hmm. And each song may resonate, some with John, some with Mary, some with Peter, as if there is like a menu of 12 different stories, mini stories, if you will, written from 12 different points of view, if you will. That's the best way I can describe it. And it's a beautiful album. I'm glad you did it to begin with, and I'm glad that you talk about the subject, because we live in a crazy world. We are, me included, right? I'm a computer guy, so I have 3 computers at home, 3 in the office, iPad, tablets, and iPhone, and this and that. We don't need all this stuff, right? I control myself. The screen time is only a couple hours a day, or I look social media an hour a day. I only do interviews. I don't post the stuff. I don't want the whole world to know about my life. And people are kind of fools in many ways. Let me give you an example, right? People have a sense of pride, empowerment, and for example, right? So if I were to post, right, the worst article in the history of the universe, right, or wherever, right, and I have 10 friends, people without even reading the first line of the stupid document, right, will say like, right, before, as if there is a need for folks to be part of something, be part of an article. The stupid article written can be the worst article in the history of the universe, and people need to be part of that, or checking the phone every 10 seconds to see somebody wrote or respond to an email or sleep with the phone right next to the bed instead of turning it off and watch a movie, spend time with your loved one, whatever. We live in a crazy society, So
crazy society. But I think it's a very crazy society in terms of the way we use technology and our devices, and that problems come with that. But I also really feel that it's important that we don't blame each other for what we do on social media or with our tech devices. We have to love each other and remember that if we were sitting in a restaurant or a pub or by a swimming pool and talking to each other, looking in each other's eyes, that we wouldn't have a lot of the problems. And I think it's not the people. I think it's the medium through which we're communicating that brings out the worst in a lot of people. To me, real technology is heart. That's the real technology. And there's many people that use technologies like social media and all of those kind of things, and can look after their heart, and that, which is great, and it doesn't affect them. But there are many people who find it harder to keep their heart in the center of their life, and you know, without going into internet bullying and all of this really horrific behaviors that we've seen on the internet over the years. The main culprit of this is the systems that have been created. And I don't even think the human beings who are in charge of the systems are really aware, you know. And I only see one solution for being able to balance our digital life and our phenomenological life, and that is to spend more time with each other in the same room, which I hope I can do with you in America at some time.
That's absolutely. You know, two teenagers can be in the same room, right next to one another, and then they will text. No, but you want to say something to Johnny. Johnny's in front of you. Why don't you? Let's go get a beer. Let's get a cup of coffee. Why you need to text that way? It's crazy.
And the thing with Johnny is that unfortunately he's grown up where this is normal in the world.
That's right.
I'm a kind of, I always had an analog childhood and early adulthood that then went into digital. I feel very lucky, and I'm 47. I feel very passionately about people of my generation speaking about these issues, because we really have a unique perspective, because we've seen as children the benefits of not having mobile devices, and we've seen the benefits of having them as adults. But I think we have to talk about it a lot for those younger generations, so that they can understand there are other choices.
Absolutely.
It's not about good or bad. I think it's more about choices and bringing in part of the real world as well. It's not what do they call it? Absolutist. It's not one thing or the other. You know?
Absolutely. No, I'm completely agree with you, man. It's
must embrace both.
Technology is great. The internet was great. Social media is great to a certain extent.
Yes.
What you do with it, how you spend an hour a day versus 5 hours a day, or and so on and so forth. And what do you mean by the first track of the album called? I think it's called "The Start with the Sun." What intrigued me? What does it mean to you? Start with the sun.
Start with the Sound is really my love song to sound itself. Yeah. It began. The idea for the song, the lyric, really began because I just noticed how much I and everyone else that I know we look at our phones, we look at things, and when we text when we're messaging somebody on any platform, we're messaging in silence, and silence is a powerful thing, and can be very useful in art. But with text messaging, my experience was that I was filling up the silence in my own head. So you could be sending me a message and saying, "Hey, Tim, I'm going to be, I'm not sure if I can do the interview today. Would it be okay to change the time to tomorrow?" So somebody like me just thinks, "Oh, he doesn't want to do, maybe he doesn't like the album, or maybe, so I have assumptions. Now, if we're talking to each other like we are now, and this is the way I'm okay with Zoom, I hear your voice, and sometimes I can tell in your body language, and just realize that you just don't have time today, and that the issue is that it's no big deal. But so sound, I realize how important for communication sound is to me. I think to other people as well, but I don't know many people that use the telephone anymore. I use the phone a lot. I call people. Not everyone answers all the time. But so I realized that sound really is such a crucial part of my life in a way that I became quite angry about the technology companies. You can't mute a picture on Facebook or Instagram, but you can mute the sound.
That's right.
You
I
know,
know what you mean. Yeah.
there's no mute button for, you can't turn off the pictures, but you
Yeah.
can turn off the sound. And so start with the sound. The chorus says it, lost in an image. Start with the sound. And that's what I feel many of us are lost in images. Eye candy. Kevin Godley and I spoke about this nearly every night for a year. And he really was a great guide for a lot of this project and inspiration. He made me think differently, Kevin. He's brilliant. And this is what Start With The Sound is about. It's about realizing the value of sound, and that the mute button is a dangerous thing. I mean, I think when we're all, you can secretly scroll and read the subtitles, captions. Like when someone says to me, what's the biggest hit at the moment? And I'm like, captions. Captions is the big hit. People love you to look and not necessarily listen. I know that many people that are friends of mine will hear this and think, well, they like listening. And there's a lot of people that do like listening. But it's the way it's created on the platforms is in favor of us looking, not listening. And I find that quite old-fashioned as well. Malcolm McLaren, you know, the Sex Pistols manager, if we can call him that, who I love Malcolm McLaren, but he said people look before they listen. You know, this was a big part of his philosophy and his approach with music, art, and punk and fashion. And I think he's a genius, and I think that idea was genius at the time. I think it's a new century now, and I think we need to explore listening more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a good example would have been, you know, with fashion, Duran Duran, right? A bunch of, you know, good-looking guys, and
I love them.
wear very fancy clothes. The videos were done in boats and expensive places in France and Italy and so on. Of course, they became very popular. You know, whether the music is great or not great, or the lyrics are great, it was an image in front of you, right? Like as if image and sound and everything instead of, you know, the lyrics could have been terrible, but because they.
What we talked about before with Lindsay Kemp, his art was based on the imagery and vision. I like a lot of Bowie and Kate Bush's art, I should call it, and it's so important. But technology companies take the information that we know is true. People love looking at stuff, and have forgotten how amazing it feels to listen and close your eyes and just hear something. And that's what podcasts, I think, are just such a godsend. You know, podcasts, I think, has been a brilliant way to keep people using those muscles, the listening muscles, you know. And so, yeah, Start With The Sound is that. And it's very tongue-in-cheek, I think. And I think it's written from the point of view of a kind of a part of myself that was rebelling. And then, of course, musically, it just I couldn't stop working on the song. It was such an obsessive musical exploration, which is why it has an kind of operatic almost middle to the song with the beautiful violin solo by Jonathan Hill. And I live in that song when I perform it, and when I was working on it. Yeah.
Got it. For people that don't live in here in in your case in UK, in London, why Soho is very important? It's part of your life. It is your life. It had been the name in different albums and programs, and Soho, the first part one in your life, and Soho part two, and
Yeah.
so why Soho? It's
Well, it's accidental, but also not accidental. I didn't know very much about Soho when I was growing up as a child or a teenager. The first thing I heard about Soho was reading biographies by Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and Sex Pistols, people like that when I was in my teens. And I got into art school when I left school, and the art school that I got into was called St. Martin's, which is very famous. I think the Sex Pistols did their first gig there in '76, and so my mother said, "Well, go and move somewhere near there." And we found a place, and that was in Soho. And I moved into Soho when I was 19, knowing about it a bit, but then I suddenly found out that my mother had been a dancer and a singer at a famous theatre in Soho when she was a teenager, and started in the pop business. And then I found out my grandfather was a comedian in Soho in the 1950s.
oh wow, yeah,
And I think because I was alone, I absolutely inside myself somewhere just reached in and thought, this is my roots. This
that's
is
right.
where I'm 19. My mother was here when she was 19. My grandfather was here when he was in his early 20s. This is my roots. And my older brother, he's 10 years older than me, was in the film business, and he was in Soho all the time. So I just thought, this is where I should be. And so I began performing a lot in Soho, and the record industry in the 90s was, the Britpop scene was very much in Camden, but also in Soho. And when I began my solo career in 2004, I moved back into Soho and really became so close to the community. They supported me through difficult times. They embraced my music. They gave me spaces to perform, places like Ronnie Scott's. I was not, able to perform somewhere like that. It's an expensive hire.
I know you.
They opened the doors to me because I was writing songs about Soho, and they said, "Well, come and do something here." So my love affair with the place just blossomed throughout my 30s, and then I began a campaign to save the music venues in Soho because they were not being protected by our government or our mayor at the time. And I did a lot of work and had some success. But it's a very difficult job to slow down development in central London. But we reminded people why it's important. It's where the birth of British rock and roll happened in 1957.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah.
And then you go back further, centuries, like people like Mozart lived there. And
that's right.
it's just, and the history of it. I mean, I could always get a job as a historian of Soho, probably.
Maybe you should write a book, man.
I love it. I love it so much, and it's going through a difficult transition at the moment. But I believe in the ghosts of Soho. I think they're there, and they'll guide it into the right place eventually.
Yeah, I mean, big businesses want to buy properties, whether historic or not, because they want to put a new building and new houses, and it's a lot of money, right? And the government will say, well, there used to be a historical place, many bands were playing there, and
yes,
the government need to step out.
Well,
some property need to be saved, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Developers and landlords who own property in Soho do a lot of advertising about the 60s. The Jimi Hendrix played here, or the Beatles played, or the Rolling Stones recorded in this building. And my point of view is, well, it makes the space available for the next Beatles, make the space available for the next Rolling Stones, or it's not a piece of history that has to end. That creative community in the middle of our capital. I still think this is an amazing thing, that we have 50 years of all the most incredible music in our country, not starting always in Soho, but always going from Soho to the rest of the world. Even the Animals who came from the northeast of England, they started in Soho, and then the next thing they're playing in America. It's a platform, and for poetry, for writers, for artists, for comedians. It's just been an incredible idea, and more than anything else, it inspires you when you go there. If you're an artist, I did when I was 16. I walked down Denmark Street and I saw Jimmy Page coming out of a guitar shop, and he walked past me and he smiled, and I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to get my first guitar in that shop.
That's right.
And I did.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes you feel the history that you love, that you want to kind of contribute something to. And that's what I always wanted to contribute to, the stories that have been told with music. I wanted to do my own little contribution to that tapestry. And I would not have felt like that without being in somewhere like Soho. And I think all over the world, there should be places like, there are places, but there should always be, should be protected, so that other 15 and 16-year-old kids can just walk through and feel like they've walked into what might be the beginning of the rest of their life.
So Denmark Street is so famous. I did a video. I don't know if you have the chance to look at it. I did it with a friend from Argentina in March.
I'd love to watch that. Is that a video you've done? An interview?
Oh, yeah, it is posted in the YouTube channel. It's
watch it. I'd love to see that.
And that the guys from Argentina been living in London for the last 20 years, and then he does tours in London. We covered he does a tour of Pink Floyd, another one of Genesis, another one of Queen, and we go to 20 different famous areas, and then one was Denmark Street, and we enter a couple of music shop where they sell guitar. We went to a place called the Regent Sound. Huh?
For you, coming from America,
I did in March 15th.
Where did you grow up, Claudio?
Oh, sorry?
Where did you grow up? In Chile?
I grew up in Chile, right?
Yes, yeah. This must be a magical experience for you, seeing records for the first time by bands like Pink Floyd or the Beatles, these bands, and reading the records, and then going somewhere like Denmark.
So. Yeah, I mean, I never thought that I would be able to do that kind of stuff. Like I told you before, right? I left Chile when I was 80. I was 22 years old, and in 86, and a lot of bands were not going to Latin America. So I was buying record, buying, and I wanted to see all this band. And that was before the internet. YouTube didn't exist. Phones that you couldn't access website where the concert was posted and so forth. So I was going crazy, and I'm very fortunate that I did okay in my life, and I've been able to travel 3 times a year to London, and I went to see the last 3 concerts of Genesis, before they split up.
You've done better than me, because even though I speak Spanish, I've never performed in Spain or South America.
So now everybody goes to Latin America,
Not me. You're going to have to tell me where to go. I don't know where to go. I have no idea about South America, but I'd love to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, Chile and Argentina are great countries, man.
I've heard. I worked with a Chilean lyricist. Really? Many years ago. One of my albums is called Hijo de la Luna.
Yeah, I got it.
I did. He helped me rewrite my songs in Spanish.
In Spanish, I got it. Yeah.
I have a whole Spanish album that I've never.
But when you have the chance, feel free to go to the YouTube, and Fairfax City Music is videos about
Oh,
25.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, we visit different venues. We went to Ronnie Scott to see the place where Queen got together and decided to, continue as a band. We went to a building where the Beatles performed by the last time, Denmark Street, and the Beatles history, and so on and so forth. The first record store that was open at the time close to the Dominion Theaters, about 2 blocks. I forgot the street, right? So so it was a great experience. There are so many great venues in London. I mean, in my opinion, the top 3 band, the history of music came from the UK. The Pink Floyd, the Led Zeppelin, and
part of the reason I
Pink
did
Floyd, of course.
part of the reason I did the album launch for Super Connected at the Roundhouse because of the history. I wanted to do something that in a space in it because it was in the theater, not the main venue, but they have a theater at the Roundhouse,
and
I had to do it in a theater to be able to do the film as well. But the main reason was the history, and I knew Lindsay had worked there, and Bowie had worked there, and the Doors, Jim Morrison is like, that was my way into performance art on stage. And so the history of the buildings in London where magical things have happened is a very important part of my life.
Absolutely. And the Roundhouse is a very famous place as well. You mentioned a lot of famous people who play there,
Yeah, no, it's an honor playing there, and it was and the people that helped us put the show together. It's only 2 weeks ago. It feels like a long time ago now, but it was astonishing to have that kind of support from a venue like that. Yeah.
Looking back in your life when you decided you got your first record label deal, you were 17, 18 years old, and now 19. You run the record label TA Music, and you have released over 25 albums. Not bad, man. Not bad for a kid. Not too bad.
It's still here. Yeah.
Good for you, man. Looking back in your life, think you would have done differently? I mean, from the business point of view, and
I don't think I could have done anything differently. I perhaps if I'd have known about my autism earlier, I would have been able to get some help earlier, because I have a lot of challenges with administration and money and mathematics, numbers. I've never been able to. My career has been creating constantly, not promoting. Promotion is like, people say, "Oh, your promotion's really good." It's like I don't know what I'm doing, and it's not good because it hasn't. I don't have any money, and I don't have a home of my own. If you're good at promotion, you're making money. I'm not. I'm happy. I'm really so happy with what I do, but the only thing I would have done differently would maybe have been found out earlier that I thought I was stupid. I thought I was
really?
Knew I was clever with music and recording and writing. I knew I was good at that, but I thought I was really stupid at all the other things. And I'm not stupid. I've got challenges which are to do with the way my brain is, and luckily I found out now. So I now ask people for help, and when people tell me I'm doing something wrong, I tell them, I know I have challenges with that. Can you help me?
Absolutely.
I would have asked for more help when I was younger if I'd have known. Yeah.
Which is anywhere you can would you like to tour with a new album? Is something that you would like to do? I know it's very expensive, but hire maybe
my dream is to
perform. A manager that can help you with that, or
I'd love that. Yeah, I'd love that. I mean, people say, "Oh, Tim does everything himself," and it's not that I don't do everything myself. I can do, and if no one else is doing it, then I do it. But I would love to have more than 1 or 2 shows a year. I only do 1 or 2 shows a year because the shows I do are complex. They're special and they're really amazing. You can't do that a lot. It's taken 6 months to plan the show we did at the Roundhouse, and a lot of rehearsing, and it's theatre as well as film as well as music. And it went so well that it will happen again. But yeah, touring is the one bit of my career in music that I haven't been able to do, and I hope I get to do it before I get too old.
But perhaps an idea, do an acoustic version, you and the guitar playing, two, three small venues, and take it from there. You want to get from point A to point B, but if you try to accomplish point B, you are going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be thinking, "Hey, I cannot do it. I don't have the money." Blah, blah. No, like, go baby step, man. Acoustic version of the album, right? Ping a couple music venues.
We've done that,
and then take it from there. And then you do the third, the fourth, and little by little you start.
Yeah, we've already done
that. Yeah.
We've already done the acoustic version last year. But the other thing is, I've done acoustic gigs for 20 years, and
yeah.
I think it's fun doing acoustic gigs, but it's also, I think it's important to show what it is, what the intention of the writing is. Other albums I've done are meant to be acoustic, but this one's not. But the shows I do with Sarah Kershaw, who's my friend and genius pianist and singer, we do and are going to do some performances, which is just me and her with piano and acoustic guitar. Yeah,
I got it. I wanted to mention a little bit about the.
I'm just going to put a light on. I can't see. Hang on.
Sure. Go ahead.
Meeting.
What time do you need to go? You need to leave now? 3. Well,
I should go. No, it's okay. I'm okay for 15 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have only like two more questions. Feel free to elaborate on what love will want. I think I saw the video, the live in Manchester for 2018. Right? It's deeply. I was deeply moved by this. It's really beautiful, man, and it's very well put together. I would say that's the best way I can describe. We live in a society with. I grew up in a Catholic family, right, where the Catholic Church told me, well, the role of society are men and women, not to women, not to men, and this and that. Who am I to criticize? People about the sexual rotation and that kind of stuff. If people are happy and they have minimal life and they want to live life a certain way, that's the way it should be, right? As opposed to the government or the Catholic Church or any church telling, you committing sin or that or whatever. So I was deeply moved by the video, and it's very, very well done, put together, man. So.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, what love would want is a long story. We don't have time to tell in all of it, but to summarize it for me is what love would want is about giving a voice to the voiceless. I'm lucky where I grew up. My mother was accepted that she was gay. I was accepted, even though my mother was gay. And when I got to a certain age, I really began to realize how lucky I was, and that doesn't happen in all countries. And so, in particular, this was to do with Russia and Chechnya. and the gay refugees that had escaped to save their own lives, from Chechnya.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's what the song is about. That love is a human right. It's not something that can be controlled. They can control the prices of oil and electricity and all kinds of things, but I think to control love and who you love is a very, very serious injustice. And where love is concerned, people should just be allowed to live their lives and
the way they want, right, and be happy about it.
Yeah, and the only thing I tried to do with the song was to sing it from the point of view of me as an 8-year-old child with gay parents, because it makes me angry as an adult to think that there are countries that interfere with who loves who. And but anger, I sometimes feel it's not an effective way to convey a message. The energy is useful, but I kind of used the energy of anger that I had and then gave it to myself as a child. So it's a very childlike, innocent song, sung from the point of view of a child who doesn't know discrimination. And
that's right,
I think a child looks at their parents, whether it's 2 women, 2 men, or a man and a woman, they don't care. They just want to be loved.
That's right, absolutely, yeah.
That's the spirit of what love would want.
The power of love. Quite sure you know that song, right? So it's,
yes.
That's right. It's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, so, the power of love and the right to love.
The right to be accepted, the right to be accepted, the right to live in a society where you don't have to hide and be happy with your partner, whether it's a male or female, this or that, whatever, and being happy. And I
tend to believe that when humanity is healthy in their love, and I mean all kinds of love, family love, love with the partner, love with friends, love with your community. When love is free in that way and is healthy, amazing things start to happen. And you just have to look at the 1960s. I think that was a really incredible time for love, and there's been a lot of resistance for that in some countries since. And some organizations know that love is a power. There's a lot of talk about the power of countries and their nuclear power and their advertising power. There's a lot of, but actually love is the ultimate power. And you have to look at your history and where people are loving well. I think humanity is doing well.
Love is the answer for sure, man.
Yeah, man. And you know that for sure.
Sure. I know, Tim, I've been talking to you an hour and a half, and quite sure we'll do a follow-up interview in the future. I know you're busy. It was very, very nice talking to you, Tim. You're a great human being. You're not only a great musician, and you have played with the best, and you have been trained with the best, but you're a very good human being as well. That's important. I have met a lot of musicians that are terrible human beings. No, it's not your case. You have done you were raised well. Let me put it to you by your mom. So
that's very sweet of you. It was my mother's 80th birthday yesterday, so
tell her that I say hello. Yeah,
I'll let her know what you said. She'll like that.
Right.
But also, thank you so much for the chat and for sharing about your background as well. And muchas gracias.
Same to you, man. Gracias, and thank you very much. And like I told you at the way, my interview is a little different because even if I was talking to, I don't know, Peter Gabriel, and everybody will know the hits and that album, the Genesis stuff, but for me that's not important. For me, it's important to know the human being behind behind the piano, behind the instrument, behind the voice. I want to know the human on the other side. And if people, got to know you, got to know your life and your lifestyle and a little bit of yourself, in many ways, I feel like I've done my job. So it was very nice, Tim. Good luck to you, and I will.
Lovely hour and a half. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Stay in touch.
Okay, you bet. Thank you. Appreciate it. I will.
Kevin.